Got a red light.
Oh, do we?
Red light means it's on. That's what,
Yeah, that's good.
red light means good.
Everyone have to look yet. Then I will pull up my timer.
I'm a little nervous for them.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Natalie Konopka from Alive.
Natalie.
Ready to talk
Dorian
about
Grau.
Good. What was your
See
name
you,
again?
Dorian Grau.
Dorian, nice to meet you. We've had a chance to speak before, but Andy, nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you both for agreeing to meet with me and kind of taking some time out of your schedule. I know you have a trip to the Grand Canyon, so we want to get you out of here as soon as possible.
Yes, very excited.
Yeah, so just so you have it, just so you know, if you need to contact me after this conversation today, there's a copy of my business card. Feel free to reach out. I also have a QR code on the back if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So I know you're going to the Grand Canyon, but what other U.S. destinations have you gotten a chance to see?
Well, hopefully Yellowstone. I'll go back to Yellowstone again.
Okay.
Which is one of my favorite places to go visit.
Very cool. Haven't had a chance to be there. Andy, have you ever been to London before?
I have.
You have.
So I've been there on business a couple of times. Big fan.
That's great. Yeah, I just went there last January. My cousin lives in Notting Hill, so I got to stay with her, which was really awesome and a cool experience, definitely.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I do want to be respectful of your time. I know we have 20 minutes. Is that still all right with both of your schedules?
That works.
Yes.
Perfect. So what I want to do today is just learn more about, you and your role and kind of get an overview of what's going on since we last spoke. And I want to do that so that I can really show you how ReliaQuest can bring value not only now to your organization, but also in the future. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Great.
Perfect. So I know in our last conversation that the main two needs that you really have for Paycom are increased data security and also making sure that all of your departments, your IT department and your sales team are happy and integrated and really focused on the same goal. Is that all correct?
That is correct, yes.
What changes have been made, if any, to your situation since we last spoke?
Where Dorian and I have spoken about payroll options and what they're looking at as far as the security piece as well. And he has some concerns about that.
Okay, what concerns do you have about that security issue?
Well, basically talking to some of my friends in the UK, doing business with the Yankees can really cause some bigger losses.
Okay. Where are you originally from?
Huh?
Where are you originally
I'm
from?
actually from the United States, but
Okay.
I've been living over in the UK for many years now.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. So if I were able to show you a solution, is there if I use some desk space, by the way? Okay, perfect. So just to kind of summarize what your needs are, you really have this data security issue, the team happiness, but also making sure that EU is compliant and the security is up to date for that potential merger. Is that all correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I were able to show you a solution that could provide that for you, that added layer of security, that team happiness, and EU compliancy, would you be interested in learning more about that solution?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so the solution that I think makes the most sense for your situation is ReliaQuest's Gray Matter tool. But I know what you're probably thinking. I know they had some hesitation with the Yankees, so you're probably thinking, why trust ReliaQuest at all? Well, don't take just my word for it. Take the word of our 200 plus customers, customers in the Fortune 1000 like Southwest Airlines and St. Jude's Children's Hospital that are trusting us every single day to drive consistency across their organizations and enhance the ROI of their IT departments. They're not trusting us just once. We actually have a 3-year customer retention rate of 97%. And here's what they had to say. So can you both see the screen? I want to make sure that this is great for both of you.
Yes.
Perfect. So this is our customer, Andrew Dotson. He said, excellent company. He's worked with ReliaQuest in the past. Nothing but good things to say about the employees and the CEO. So what's the solution that people like Andrew are really buying into? Well, that's our Gray Matter solution. Our Gray Matter tool was named this 2019 Security Automation Solution of the Year at the Cybersecurity Breakthrough Awards. So what does this mean in terms of how it can benefit your organization? I've talked about how it can benefit just any organization, but I think it's especially powerful for those dealing with relations in the EU. So as I'm sure you are familiar with, working in the EU, the general data protection regulation is a huge thing right now in data security. So what this means for your organization is that any just presence that you have in the EU requires you to be compliant with the GDPR. HR companies like you, especially, dealing with a lot of private information at once, especially have to keep their data secure. So if you're not compliant, if for some reason, that kind of falls through, there is a fee and a financial burden of 4% of your annual revenue, or 20 million euros, whichever one is greater.
So ReliaQuest has fulfilled this for companies already that are dealing with European companies, the GDPR.
Yeah, talk to me more about especially fulfilling and what that kind of means for you.
So if your companies that you already have,
Yeah.
So they are all compliant because they're using your services.
They are. So ReliaQuest does comply with EU and the GDPR. We also have an office in Dublin, Ireland. That's our headquarters. So we're really familiar with the EU and dealing with that. Does that address that concern for you?
Yes.
Okay. So what does this look like? What organizations have felt this financial burden of not being compliant with the GDPR? British Airways is currently facing $200 million euro fines for a data breach. They're not alone though. Marriott International is also facing a data breach fine of 99 million euros. So what if this happened to Paycom or Payroll Options? If we're looking at this merger and you're looking to merge together and kind of become one organization, Paycom's revenue is around 500 million for each year. And Payroll Options is saw 250 million each year. So a total of 750 million. If you were to incur that 4% fine, that's 3 million pounds. Or if you create that or convert that over into US dollars, through $38.3 million. So that fine is really expensive. Imagine if that happened to your organization, and that doesn't even take into account the customer loyalty that you'll kind of lose with that situation. Do you have any questions about anything as I've explained it so far?
I do.
Yeah.
Because some of my concerns are, in talking to my friend from the UK, is the data security breaches that's been happening with prominent US companies.
Right.
And how are you going to protect us? Because this is a merger. I'm not selling my organization, and I am worried about losing my clients, their data information.
Right. So what has your friend told you, or what companies have you experienced this issue in?
So we've seen in doing some research, like you mentioned a Marriott. Marriott has lost over 500 million of customers' information. Equifax, a credit facility, has lost over 143 million. As well as eBay at 145 million, and Facebook, as prominent as they are, lost 50 million people's data.
Yeah, it's a huge thing facing companies right now, making sure that you're compliant in the EU. And I do want to touch on how Grey Matter can help you, and ReliaQuest can help your organization make sure that that never happens. So how I think we can do that is through our technology. So our technology, and I've had a chance to talk to Andy about it, but our technology, there's 6 main components that help your organization and your IT teams. But where I really want to start is our Intel tool. So our Intel tool, it's 40 plus open source feeds, but not only that, ReliaQuest provides a private feed and data that's collected by our team to your organization to help keep it an added layer of security there. The benefit of this is your team saves time, and your team doesn't have to spend all of their additional time kind of aggregating all of this information. Not only are we dealing with current data, but we're also dealing with historical data and things in the past. So our detect tool, you can see what our module looks like right here in our web portal. This is kind of like your threat detection archive, if you want to think of it that way. Full content library with threat detection rules that are specific to your organization's environment. So I know that it's really important to understand your specific organization and how things are regulated in the EU. These are specific to your organization. Does that address that concern for you about compliancy and added security?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about how we can aggregate data and make sure that we're keeping a layer of security in your organization?
No, it looks clear.
Okay.
Stuff we've reviewed before. So are you clear?
Yes, I'm clear.
Perfect. Could you see yourself using this, in either of your organizations?
Yeah, but there's still the question of why Grey Matter is superior to J, or the company's just building it with our own staff of experts.
Sure. So
Why
what?
wouldn't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah. So what are you currently doing yourselves that you think is perfectly fine the way it is?
Well, in Paycom, we have Jay overseeing everything, and he has a really good track record. And why wouldn't we just use our staff of experts to replicate or to do some of the same things?
I'd love to touch on that. So I know in speaking with Jay, when I had a meeting with Jay Taylor, he talked about the fact that he spends a lot of his time on researching threat alerts and responding to those alerts. So an organization of your size sees anywhere from 10,000 to 150,000 alerts every single week. So only about 4% of those alerts are actually valid and matter and would impact your organization. So what our Automate tool does is automatically responds to those alerts that aren't, a direct impact on your organization, so that your team doesn't have to sift through. And Jay, although he's doing a great job, is overworked and, dealing with so many alerts and thousands of thousands. Our Automate tool really breaks it down to maybe 10, 15, or 20, so that he can, free up some time for him and his team to manage his team, pursue other IT and revenue generating activities. Does that address that concern for you?
It does. Okay.
Okay, so using our tools like these, we see that we can save our customers in the Fortune 300 area. We've been able to save those companies 100 hours a month, which is 25 hours a week or 5 hours a day. So that's giving back your team over 50% of their workday. So imagine what they could do with all that added time. But it really doesn't stop there. I know you mentioned, Jay, this plan for having this team. I do want to talk about your investments. So we've talked about how, Gray Matter can help you. I do want to give you just a copy of our pricing structure that I've been able to create with Jay. Here's a copy of our general pricing structure for you as well. So in speaking with Jay, this is a pricing structure we came up with. Our pricing has 4 main elements. So we have our integrated technologies. These are things like servers and data files that directly integrate with our Gray Matter tool. You have 73 of those at Paycom. Do you know how many payroll options has?
Payroll has about a half of that,
Okay,
so around 35.
perfect. So we'll say 35. Great. Let me just pull out a calculator here. So those are just the first cost, 5,000 for 35. So you're looking at a total of, about 175,000 for that. Paycom has about 365,000. So the next part of the element of our pricing structure is our supported technologies. These are just general devices that are making data, things like mobile devices, but not integrated with our tool. So at Paycom, we have about 1,100 of those for a total of about 26,000. Are you aware of the supported technologies that would be necessary for payroll options?
A little bit, not extensively.
Okay, can you quantify a number for me? Do you have like a ballpark?
I'd probably guess around 600.
Okay, 600 supported technologies. So those are $2,350 each. So for 600 of those, it's about 14,000. So our next element of pricing is our users. So these are people like Jay, people on your IT team. Identified 4 of those that would require access to our Gray Matter tool for Paycom. That's 1,000 each, so 4,000 for Paycom. Do you know how many users you want to have access to the tool?
We'd have 1 right now.
Okay, so that's just 1,000. And then our final pricing element is just all the organizational employees. These are people that are making data on a day-to-day basis. Paycom has 856 employees, so those are $2,350 each, a total of about 20,000. How many employees does Payroll Options have currently?
400.
400. So for $2,350 each, 400, that's about 9,400. So if we're kind of adding all of those totals up, so you're looking at an investment for Payroll Options of about $200,000, and for Paycom it's about $415,000. Just for my understanding, would be you'd be going under one contract or separating them out before the acquisition happens?
We haven't gotten to those details yet.
Sure.
I would guess that we would do them separate and then merge them together if we got to that point.
Okay, well, we've talked about the investment, now I really want to talk about the return that you get on that investment. So I am aware of, Jay's plan to bring on some extra added teams that could help you with your EU security. So that's currently at about $350,000. But I'm sure as most of you know, that doesn't really stop there. So in adding extra employees, you also have, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, benefits for an employee for just 1 year is about $24,000. So if you're adding 4 extra employees to help you out, you're paying about $100,000 just in benefits alone. And it doesn't stop there either. Just to bring employees on, you have to onboard them, you have to train them. And Forbes identified that onboarding expenses are $20,000 upfront. So what turned into $350,000 is now about $466,000. So you can see that, the price of that is significantly higher than you might have expected.
Sure.
But in terms of what we can do for you in the long run, we have a system downtime savings. So we can save you 98% of system downtime. Gartner finds that just 1 hour of system downtime that your systems aren't running is $300,000. Now, the one that I think is really important to your organization, thinking about going over to the EU, so not even taking into consideration the 4% penalty, in the US, we found that according to IBM, the cost of a data breach for an organization is $3.86 million. So imagine if that happened. This isn't a matter of, when, it's a matter of, or if, it's a matter of when. So if you're not going to pay now, you are going to pay later. Data breaches are happening every single day across the world, and it's an impactful thing on an organization. So keeping all of these things in mind, time savings that we talked about earlier, we also can save you 35% of your total IT spend. So imagine, as the COO, you know what you're spending every single year on IT. We can save you 35% of that. So keeping all of these things in mind, the data security that we can give you that our tool provides for both of your organizations, also the ROI and the savings that we have for you, not only now, but in the long run. What do you say? Would you like to sign on with Rely Plus today?
Well, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Because we're over in the UK, we support different locations such as the UK, Germany, Spain, and France.
Yes.
How do you deal with the different language barriers?
So your question is about language barriers. Tell me more about specifically where that arises in an organization.
So we'll support organizations such as in Spain, and you're a US company that primarily only speaks English.
Yep.
People that speaks Spanish and all different languages. How would your organization support those companies?
Yes, definitely. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we have our headquarters in Dublin, Ireland, so we're familiar in working with other international companies. I am not sure specifically, how the translation process works, but I am confident that I can, get that information for you and bring it back immediately. And, I'm sure that there's something in place that could be worked out. Does that address that concern for you?
Yeah, if you can answer that question to make sure you have that support, that'd be great.
Yeah, so, keeping all of that in mind, would you like to sign on with Rely Plus today?
Well, this has been great. What I'd like to see is the contract and get it to my lawyers in the UK to look it over and then discuss with Andy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here's a copy of the contract right now. I understand the need for, to get that lawyers kind of sign off. But, you talked about earlier, this is really an impeding issue. If you want to get this merger, happening and the ball rolling, I really think it's important to kind of get this process started. So why don't we get you signed on with Rely Plus today, get that onboarding process going so that we can ensure that your data security starts tomorrow. What do you say? Do you want to sign on with Rely Plus today?
Well, I think what Dorian said is we're certainly headed in that direction. We just need to get the final lawyers, and then I think we have a deal.
Yes, I think it looks good. I just want to have our lawyers look through it.
Yeah, what kind of timeline do you think you're looking at in terms of, lawyers looking it over?
Well, we want to get this all done by the end of the year. And so he's going to go on vacation. He'll send through and then call back, and hopefully we're partners.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to merge companies at the end of the year, you really want, if you're going to bring a solution on, I think it would really be beneficial to bring that on before that merger and that acquisition happens so that, integration is really seamless and possible.
Oh, we will do that.
Yeah, sure.
We will, that will be part of we won't merge without it.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I know you're looking end of the year, but do you want to find out about the data breach, tomorrow or at the end of the year? Or would you rather find out about a data breach, today and right now? If you sign on for ReliQuest, let's get you integrated, really get you integrated and set up for that merger at the end of the year.
Yeah, like we said, I think it's looking very good. I just want my lawyers to look over it.
Sure.
And if they say everything looks good in the contract, we'll be able to sign the deal.
Yeah, no problem. How about we set up a meeting, a week from now, we can go over the contract, I'll bring it back to you, and we can kind of go over it together and once you had your lawyer input. How about, November 14th, 8 a.m. here back at the office?
I think that sounds good. You can
Awesome.
go on your
I
vacation.
can have patience.
We'll send everything to the lawyers and then
Perfect.
everything goes.
Awesome, thank you.
Just in time.